Good morning, everybody. Here's the second video for the Groundworks for a Better Vocabulary, Chapter 2. Chapter 4. And we will have a quiz over this chapter on Thursday as well. So make sure that you watch the video and take the time to review. Okay, so again, here we have all of the words here. I recommend again that you take the time before going through this and try to divide these up into their different word parts. Into their different parts of speech: noun, verb, and adjective. Just because it's always helpful to work with the words as many times as you can, because like I said before, it takes about 10 to 20 encounters with a word before you're really going to remember it and own it. Okay, so here's our first word. We have the word abundant. And abundant is an adjective. So our apple tree bore such an abundant crop this year that we'll have plenty of applesauce for all winter. Mom's energy is so abundant that the rest of us can't keep up with her. After a day's work, she'll bike 10 miles and then say, "Let's shoot a few baskets for before dinner." Branches of a cherry tree with abundant supply of cherries. Okay, so this word here, crop, I'm sure a lot of you guys know this already, but a crop means like fruits or vegetables that are grown. So all of the fruits or vegetables that are grown are called crops. All right, so abundant means great. And it means great not in the way of like, yay, super, that's great. It means great in the meaning of a lot. Great can also mean very many. So abundant means that there is a lot of something. So in this case, the abundant crop this year means that there was a lot of the crop. In this case, the mom's energy is very abundant, meaning that she has a lot of energy. Okay? All right. So here's our next word, betray. And betray is a verb. The prisoners refused to betray their country by telling its secret. I didn't mean to betray my brother by telling our parents he was using drugs. I wanted to help him. So betray means to turn against. Okay, so let's explain what this means. First of all, let's look at the structure of the word. So here we have betray, and the thing that comes after it is the thing that you turn against. So in this, the prisoners, they refused to, meaning they didn't betray their country. Okay? And in this case, it's and I didn't betray my brother. Okay, this is the one you turn against. But betray, basically, you can think of it as meaning, to tell someone's tell someone's secrets, or to do something that hurts a person who put their trust in you. For example, let me think of something. Well, a lot of people, those of you may remember Edward Snowden, who was the WikiLeaks guy. A lot of people feel that he betrayed the United States because he went against the United States. If you betray someone in a war, it would mean that you start to fight for the other side. If you betray your friend, it might mean that you tell your friend's secret to someone who they don't want to know. But betray is a bad thing. It means that you're taking someone's trust and you're using it against them. Okay, so our next word here is comparison. This one, I'm guessing, is a word that's familiar to a lot of you guys. So comparison is a noun. So Latanya decided which car to buy after making a comparison of all the cars in her price range. A comparison between Tim's and Eric's rooms made it clear that Tim is the neater of the two boys. So a comparison means to check what is alike and different. So comparison comes from the word to compare. Okay, so comparison means you find out what's alike, meaning what's similar, and also what's different is a comparison. Okay, and we can see here again that not super going to help us, but we see here a comparison between, and we see a comparison of. Now we use between when we're comparing two things. We use of in this case when we're talking about a big group of things, all the cars in her price range. So we're assuming there's more than 2 cars that she can afford. Okay, great. So again, here's a word that we have ending in ate. And just as a reminder, if it is a long A sound like ate, it means it's going to be a verb. And if it's a short I sound like it means that it's going to be an adjective. Now we can see that this one is a verb, and we can see that this is a long A sound. Okay? So I asked the salesman to demonstrate how to use the camera, but it was clear he didn't know how. When the new copy machine arrives in our office, someone who knows how to use it will demonstrate how all its features work. So demonstrate means to show, but demonstrate means to show how to do something, right? So we look in both of these sentences and we see the word how. That's going to be a clue for us on the quiz. It's not 100%, it never is, but it may be a clue on the quiz. So demonstrate how to use the computer. This means that you're showing someone, sorry, not the computer, you're showing someone how to use the camera, right? So you're giving a demonstration, okay, which is the noun. In this case, the person is demonstrating how to use the copy machine. Okay, what it means, it's showing you how something works. So when you demonstrate, you're showing how to do something or how something works. Okay. All right. So here's our next one: dispute. Dispute. Okay, and dispute is a noun. Okay. Dispute is actually an interesting word because it can also be a verb, but in this case we're going to be focused on the noun meaning. So in this case, my dispute with my brother about who would get the last piece of pie was settled when our father ate it. Business at the store was so slow that the salespeople had a dispute over who would get the next customer. So a dispute means a disagreement. A dispute means a disagreement or an argument, okay? So in this case, the dispute is between me and my brother, okay? And it's about who's going to get the last piece of pie, right? We're arguing, we disagree. I think I should get it, he thinks he should get it. In this case, the business was so slow that the salespeople had a dispute over who would get the next customer, right? Those of you guys who work in sales, if you get a commission, right, you're fighting with someone for a customer because the only way you can make money is to actually sell something. So they had a dispute over who's going to get the next customer. Okay? An argument. All right, so here we have another word, distinct, and we can see distinct as an adjective. The faces of people in the faded old photo were not distinct. We couldn't identify anyone. Although the 2 bowls of onion dip looked the same, there was a distinct difference in their taste. And then we see here, this is a mask with distinct features. So distinct means definite, and I don't like that definition too much. Definite, because it's a little bit unclear. Distinct means that something is very clear or very obvious. We had the word evident in the last chapter, and distinct is related to evident in that it's something that is very clear. But distinct means, unlike evident, distinct means that something is the most noticeable part of something. So in this case here, there was a distinct difference in their taste between the two bowls of onion dip. Okay, they look the same, but the taste is very, very clearly different. In this picture, right, the features that man has that are distinct is that his nose is very distinct, right? He's got a huge nose, and he's got a very distinct ears, very noticeable. Now, distinct doesn't mean that it has to be very big, but it should be a very, very clear thing about them. For example, one of the things, I don't know if it's true anymore, but when I was in high school, my acting teacher said that I had a very distinct walk, that when I would walk, even if she couldn't see my face or could see from me from a distance, just from looking at the way that I walked, that she could tell that it was me. Okay, and those of you guys who have kids, there's probably something very distinct about about your kids that you can tell it's them, even from a distance. Like my son has a very distinct laugh that if I hear it, I know it's him. I know it's him. So here we have the word exaggerate. Okay. Again, we have another word that ends in ate. Now our rule is that if it's a long A sound, it's going to be a verb, and if it's a short I sound, it's going to be a adjective or a noun. In this case, it's a long A sound, which means it's a verb. So Dad reminding us not to stretch the truth, always jokes, "I've told you a million times never to exaggerate." I didn't exaggerate when I called Randall a musical genius. He really does play the guitar amazingly well. So exaggerate means to overstate. So what overstate means is that you're saying something, but you're saying that it is more than it really is. Okay? I really have a hard time with people who exaggerate because my father used to exaggerate all the time, and my sister did too, and it drove me crazy. So what exaggerate would mean? You can think about it. If you are telling a story about you caught a fish, and maybe the fish is 1 foot long, but when you're telling the story, you say that it was 4 feet long. Okay, you might, if you're on a date and you're trying to impress someone, you might exaggerate about your achievements. So, for example, you might say, maybe you were on the soccer team in high school, but you never played, right? But when you're talking to someone who you like, you exaggerate and you say, "Oh yeah, I was the best player on my team and I scored all of these goals." But it's not a truth. Okay? So in that case, you're exaggerating. You're saying something that is a little bit true, but you're making it bigger than it really is to exaggerate. All right, so our next word here is inhabit, and we can say inhabit is a verb. So more than 6.5 billion people inhabit the earth. Bats often inhabit the attics of houses, barns, and other buildings. Inhabit means to live in. Now, you may get confused here because we have in, which often means not, and we have habit, which is an action that you do. But that's not going to help you at all because neither of those are related. Habit in this one is actually related to the word habitat, which some of you may know. A habitat is a place where you live, and it's often used to talk about animals, animal habitat, meaning the place that the animals live. But inhabit means that you live inside some place, okay, to inhabit, or that you live in. So in this one, more than 6.5 billion people inhabit the earth, meaning that we're living in the earth or on the earth. Here, bats inhabit the attics of houses, barns, and other buildings. Attics is the top floor of your house. So oftentimes the bats will live in there. Okay, so inhabit, you can think of it as living in. If that helps you to remember. Okay. All right, so then our next one here is neutral, and we can see that neutral is an adjective. If you ever go to a marriage counselor, don't expect him or her to agree with you, with just you or your spouse. A counselor must remain neutral. Switzerland has been a neutral country since 1648. It doesn't participate in wars or support one country against another. So neutral means that you're not taking sides. Okay, that you're not taking sides. So the good example here is of Switzerland. I think also Sweden in World War II, but it was a country that stayed out of the war, right? It didn't support one side or the other side. It just remained neutral. If you guys think about your cars, right? With your cars, there's a thing that says N, pardon me, and that's for neutral. So if you put your car in neutral, it's not going to go forward and it's not going to go backwards. So it's not in D, which is drive, to go forward, and it's not in R, which is reverse, to go backwards, meaning it's right in the middle. It's not going one way or another. Okay? And here we have our last word. We have reduction. And we see again this T-I-O-N, and we know that this is always a noun sound, shun. So when the company offered to pay workers for the sick time they didn't use, there was a sudden reduction in the number of sick days taken. It seems everyone who runs for political office promises a reduction in taxes. So reduction means a cut. So if we look at here, in both of these ones, we see reduction followed by in, a reduction in. Okay. Now, again, repeat again, it's never 100%, but that's a clue that you can use as far as for taking the quizzes. So reduction comes from the word reduce, which means to make less. So reduction means that you're lowering something. So it doesn't mean cut in the sense of using scissors to cut something, or cut as in cutting a person with a knife. It means a cut, meaning that you're lowering it. So a lot of politicians talk about giving people a reduction in their taxes, meaning that they would pay less taxes. A lot of my students ask me for a reduction in the amount of homework because I give so much homework, so they want to have less homework. I always say no. So anyway, but a reduction means that something is getting less, is going down. All right. So what I recommend for your studying is these are the same questions here that are in sentence check 1 in your book. I really recommend that you do those sentence checks 1 and 2. Even the final check is good because it's the same format that you'll see on the test. So it's good practice, and we can go over the answers to them before we take the quiz. Again, just listening to this and doing the online things is probably not enough. You need to have between 10 and 20 encounters with a word before you're really going to understand it. So I encourage you to take the time to review the vocabulary, however it works best for you. Okay? Good luck.